The people have delivered their verdict. Freedom is here to stay.
I believe we are on the cusp of a new generation of leadership in this Republican Party that will restore common sense, that will put hardworking Americans first, and that will leave for our children what they deserve to inherit, the greatest country in the history of the world.
It is clear that we are going to take the House back.
Yeah, screw the Senate. But then this afternoon, President Biden said this.
While we don't know all the results yet, at least I don't know them all yet, here's what we do know. While the press and the pundits are predicting a giant red wave, it didn't happen. And I know you were somewhat miffed by my obsessive optimism, but I felt good during the whole process. I thought we were going to do fine.
So what really happened last night, and more importantly, what happens next? Let's break down the results with our party panel. We've got townhall.com editor and Fox News contributor, Katie Pavlich. I'm wearing your shoes, Katie. She gave them to me. I didn't steal them. We've also got the host.
Fantastic.
Yes. We've got the host of the Richard Fowler Show. He's a Fox News contributor. Richard Fowler has big thoughts tonight and a big smile to boot. And host of Radical with Shane Hazel, Libertarian Georgia governor. He broke the race wide open for Brian Kemp. It is Shane Hazel. He's back to talk about all of it. So I will start with you, Katie. Mitch McConnell said this not long ago. It all comes down to the candidates. Is that what we saw last night?
I actually think it's a mixed bag. You did see a good candidate taking out the DCCC chairman in New York, Sean Patrick Maloney. That was a good thing. But generally speaking, historically, this should have been a better night for Republicans in terms of the party in charge in the White House losing more seats than they did. I think it's going to be interesting to watch over the next couple of days what the final results are in the Senate out on the West Coast. They are still counting votes, which is a whole nother issue. But you may actually see a redder wave in the Senate than we did in the House. Republicans campaigned a lot against Joe Biden and his policies because that's typically what works in a midterm election. But Joe Biden and the Democrats have actually made the decision to keep him off the campaign trail. And outside of Pennsylvania, it looks like that actually worked for him. And one final point, I think it's actually a good thing when outsiders try to get into politics. I think it's good that Herschel Walker and Kari Lake and other candidates aren't these lifetime politicians who simply climb the ladder of getting into these different offices. But you really see the issue of experience paying off in places like Florida with Marco Rubio and Ron DeSantis, who, of course, was also in the House before he went to the governor's mansion in Florida. So I don't want to discourage people who are outsiders from running, but maybe they just need a little bit more support in the last weeks of their elections to get over the finish line.
No, and you're absolutely right about that, Katie, but that goes back to candidates of substance, candidates who have more to say than, talking about their own stories. I'm going to talk to Derek Van Orden a little later in the show and, find out, sort of parse his race and what he did well and how he flipped a district that has been blue for a long time, how he flipped that red. He used a slightly different playbook than a lot of candidates across the country. And, I want to talk about that because the nice thing about the political environment that we are in, it is not one size fits all. And Richard, we try and rely on history as a guide, and that's not the best guide that we have right now because we are in such strange times. There was so much polling. There was so much data. There were so many anecdotes that led pretty much everyone to believe that this was going to be a redder wave than it was. In your estimation, why did independents break for Democrats at the last minute?
Listen, I think that's such a good point, Kenny. And I think it goes beyond independence. I think what polls do is take a snapshot in time. I think what polls do is they also talk to folks who have landlines and likely voters. What we saw happen in this election is this. We saw new registrants, people who have never been polled, young people, right, African Americans who have never been polled, show up in record number. And when they showed up, they voted for candidates who people would not, the folks didn't think would win. Take what happened in Michigan, for example. In Michigan, not only did they re-elect Gretchen Whitmer, but they flipped both the House and the Senate of Michigan to the Democratic Party. It has not been flipped since 1983. Beyond that, they also flipped a congressional seat in Michigan while also holding off Republicans from taking any of those seats, which just says to me that voters are saying, we want to do something different. But we also saw in this midterm election a lot of split ticket voting, a new phenomenon in the United States. Instead of going down party all the way, folks saying, maybe we like Brian Kemp, but we also like Herschel Walker. Maybe we like Governor Evers, and we also like Ron Johnson. Something new in this election that we haven't seen in election previous. Voters looking at the candidate and not looking at the environment or the talking points of the commercials that both parties are giving them, and looking at the candidate straight up and saying, I like this from this candidate and that from that candidate, and thus that's how I make my voter decision.
Yeah, but a lot of candidates think that voters are dumb and they will try and bamboozle them, and it kind of drives me crazy. So, Shane, you are no longer a stranger to politics. You've run twice for Senate and now for governor in Georgia 3 times. Those are 3 meaty fingers. What did you think as you were watching the Senate race in Pennsylvania unfold, Shane?
Oh, man, it's going to be an entertaining 6 years up there out of PA. Thank God, right? We're going to have a little bit of fun back in politics watching the new PA senator come in. But I think this whole thing about it being accessible to outsiders and people want outsiders, you have an incentive structure that in America that's built off of the Federal Reserve and a U.S. fiat crumbling dollar that puts these people who already have power in the giant parties closer to the people who print the money, who make laws, who also put together all of these entry laws into markets for corporations. And so you've got a really broken incentive structure to begin with. And then on top of that, when we look at like how polls are conducted, how debates are conducted, people who still make the ballot in the state aren't given the ability to go out and debate. They don't poll these same people. They black them out of all the news. They don't talk about them even after they've done debates. Like, this whole system is still broken. And I think that's why you see the mix up between Republicans and Democrats, where some people will vote for both. And it's because they're searching for something that it's not available to them because the incentive structure is completely turned on its head in America.
Yeah, they are searching for something that they don't have. And that's why it's not a given that when they're dissatisfied, they're going to vote across the board for one party. And yes, we've seen that historically, but history is changing with every cycle. I don't think that's a bad thing. I think independent thought, informing yourself, really getting to know the issues that affect you, where you live, in your family, I think that's the best thing for America. And that actually makes me very optimistic about the future. I think there's a lot to be learned from what we saw last night.